they put him basically also in the worst, one of the worst prisons from what I've heard. One of the worst ones in the Philippines is also one of the most notorious prisons in the world. Vitaly posts bail to not get locked up in a very scary prison. Fair use.
Vitaly Zdorovetskiy, famous for pranks, was arrested for harassing guards and passersby in Bonifacio, Global City. He posted bail, but didn't walk free. Immigration says he's undesirable and locked him back up. Russia won't take him. The US doesn't want him either. And if convicted, he's looking at 18 months. So now he's stuck no home, no fans, and no more pranks. Actions have consequences, even for influencers.
I don't know about the 18 months part because I've heard 25 years. So, but yeah, the story goes. But before I tell the story, RJ, your take so far.
Talked about Italy last week, I think. Was it last week or
last
2 weeks
week.
ago?
Was already
Yeah,
last week. We talked about his weight loss. He's
Yeah,
been
we talked
doing a
about
lot
his
of
weight loss. Yeah, and we also dropped like some clips. We got a lot of we got a lot of comments on one of the videos we dropped about this story. Some people out of the Philippines saying, "Hey,
It's what it is.
coming. No one's showing mercy, KR. No one, and
Nope.
it's understandable.
As they
Understandable as well. Yeah, but guys, remember to rate the show by pressing the like button, follow us on our socials, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification icon, and subscribe to the email list, email letter. You can find the description. You can find a link in the description box below.
So basically, what happened is that he was transferred to a correctional facility from the immigration BI, which stands for the Bureau of Immigration. They moved him to a regular prison, and because he went into a regular prison, he is allowed to post bail. But because he's an undesirable person at this moment, when he posts bail, he won't get out of the prison. He will be moved back into BI's facility. So they put him basically also in the one of the worst prisons from what I've heard. One of the worst ones in the Philippines is also one of the most notorious prisons in the world. I don't know what's true or not. I haven't done the research on that. I mean, it is what it is. But when you get on in it doesn't matter if you compare it with and one of the comments that we covered on last Monday's show, one of the people said that in comparison to Philippines jail, the Western American jail are like 6 stars. I think that's also a thing, right? If you're used to a certain level of, let's call it even a minimum level of luxury, which is in that prison, it will be full luxury. If you're used to a certain standard, let's say that way. When you go to one of the craziest prisons out there, I mean, you'll see the real problem, and you'll kind of think, you know what, I'll post bail. I'll go back to the immigration facility because these guys are gonna pressure me. Before I know it, I'm paying everyone's meal out here without even eating myself. He got himself into this problem, Margie. And you have to face whatever consequences he's in. But he'll get.
Yeah, I think that he wouldn't have done this in a European country, because he wouldn't have done this in a European country. So
it would have been better off if he did it in the European countries.
Yes, but he wouldn't have done it because he would have been more afraid of the European officials than the Filipino politicians. That's what I think. Because KR, you know that if you do that in the States, they'll put 68 bullets in your body, and then they'll tell you.
But when you're talking about America, Europe.
The reason why
if he had done it, for example, in Germany, Spain, France, they would have maybe caught him, hold him for a bit, and released him. But it's not. You're not gonna get any clicks if you do that.
Okay, if you do it to the people, that's one thing. But I don't think he would have walked up to a police officer in Europe and did this. He clearly thought. He clearly looked down on Filipino officials. You didn't really respect him, because if you had respected him, you would never do what he did if he had really like respect.
That is true. That is true. That is true.
That's what I believe. So, but I agree with you. Hey, wait. Do you prefer the fire, or do you prefer the smoke? Either. That's what they're.
It's a hard choice. It's a hard choice.
Do you want the fire or do you want the smoke?
I think he chose the smoke because the fire is too hot. Hey, again, it's gonna another shout out to all the people who commented, by the way, on that post, because they gave us a couple of insights. Someone says it's gonna take maybe 3 to 5 years for this case to actually get in front of a judge, which is kind of crazy, right? Because if it's gonna take that long and you're living in these conditions, you're gonna age really fast as let's call it a typical European. If you're living in that heat, eating, let's say, what was it? I think $1.25 a day worth of food, and it's crazy. It's crazy, and I think he's probably rethinking this whole thing at this moment. At this moment, he's probably thinking, I shouldn't have done this. I would have been better off if I didn't do this crazy stuff, and maybe he will change his life after this.
Yeah, he would.
What I do know,
I think he will change his life after this. The question is, once he's out at the age of 70, there's not much left.
Can't do pranks anymore. Oh man, this is crazy. But I do think.
In the comments, people were also talking about another person. Who's that person?
Johnny Somali, the guy who we talked about earlier. When he got locked up, we talked about Johnny Somali in South Korea.
Was that in Korea?
Yeah, South Korea. Yeah,
come on.
Johnny.
KaiR. Why? You didn't have to say South Korea. You
I'm
said
trying to be
locked up, so
accurate.
it has to be South Korea. Because
I'm trying to be accurate in my reporting.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, you said locked up, so it had to be South Korea. Because in North Korea, it would have been.
He would have been locked up, but he would have been working.
And
free
North
labor.
Korea,
they lock you up. They're not gonna pop. They're not gonna pop him. They're gonna put him to work. In North Korea, when you get locked up, your energy is gonna be useful. You're gonna be working in the mines. Shout out to North Korea. You gotta give it up. I'll tell you this much, RJ. Johnny Somali is probably better off, but he's in the same screwed up situation because in South Korea they made sure that he cannot stream. He has like a apartment that he has to pay for himself, so draining him financially up until his court date. And now you have Vitaly, who is in the same situation, actually a worse situation, because he's in detention. He's not gonna get out, and no one knows actually when he's gonna get out. That's the crazy part, because he could get 25 years. I saw someone, I mean, the video said 18 months. I don't think it's 18 months. I've heard so far, unless they dropped a couple of his charges, it's not gonna be less than 10 years so far. So it's not looking good for him. Even if he gets time served, he already said he's gonna sit like 3 years at minimum. So yeah, I think the Philippines are making a very good point, and I've heard as well. If you look at this whole situation with him, shout out to Legal Mindset. Fair use. He said the following:
for the international response.
Emotes, guys. Thank you so much. Emotes. You guys are killing it today.
Of the US, of Russia, of countries where he stayed and has citizenship. And a lot of people were asking questions too. Well, what's going to happen with Russia? Is he going to be sent back to Russia? What's going to go on there? We have the first really big public response from Russia. And that's to disavow him, to say they want nothing to do with him, and to actually call out his actions as something that Russians should not emulate. So I've got this news article here from
So no one wants him back. America doesn't want him. Russia doesn't want him. Russia's actually saying, look at your, look at a feral Russian who's going crazy in another country. What you shouldn't do is like him because we're not gonna save you.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is
He's
a very
screwed,
weird
man.
place to be in, because I mean, even Dad, Dad of the Year,
Head of the year.
yeah, Brittany Griner. Even Brittany
Oh.
was swapped.
You should have said dad of the year.
Even
'Cause-
Brittany
because
was
Brittany Griner has a deeper voice than me.
yeah. I think she does it. Anyways,
Doesn't matter. She's a real dad.